New audiobooks on our channel for free every week. Subscribe and click on the bell so you don't miss it.
Chapter Psychology of Success. Is the formula for success fiction or reality? For many years, people have been trying to understand whether there really is some combination of character traits and abilities that almost completely condemns a person to success. If the concept of a successful personality is real, then how to calculate the mysterious formula of success? How do I know which of us will be able to use it? Many researchers have thought about these questions. So the famous Gallup Institute analyzed the characteristic features of the ability of 1,500 successful people who were selected from the American directory, that is, WHO. As expected, the study identified common features characteristic of the most successful survey participants. The following are the most significant features characteristic of successful personalities. The first, sanity or common sense. This quality was most often present in the respondents. 61% of them said that common sense is perhaps the most important factor in their success. In this case, common sense meant the ability to adequately assess everyday affairs from the point of view of their practicality and the ability to make an optimal decision based on this. And for this you need to be able to discard externally and evaluate the essence of events or circumstances. And here a natural question arises. Is this quality innate or can it be developed in some way? Some of the respondents believe that even the most ordinary person is capable of this. You just need to learn from your mistakes and not be ashamed to seek advice from other people. The second, knowledge of your business. This trait is the second most important. One of the very prosperous businessmen said that nothing contributes to success like a good professional training in their field of activity. Due to the existing deep knowledge, the amount of risk in business is reduced. Strictly speaking, a high professional level serves as a kind of insurance policy and allows you to find a way out in the most difficult situations. It is also important to remember that if you have already reached certain heights of business, then in order to stay at this level, you need to continue to accumulate knowledge and expand your professional horizons. Third, self-confidence. If you talk to people who have achieved the greatest success, it turns out that in their business they rely only on their own strength and abilities, without expecting someone's help from outside. This trait is inextricably linked with the other, with the ability to take decisive action to succeed. Here you can also include self-implied willpower and purposefulness. The founder of one of the largest accounting firms in the northwestern region of the United States said that his formula for success is not only pride in his work, but also the courage necessary to achieve his goal. Fourth, the ability to complete the task started. 75% of successful businessmen surveyed believe that they develop vigorous activity to solve their tasks. They consider the ability to complete tasks to be a combination of three qualities: diligence, good work readiness and organizational talent. One university physics professor defined his personal formula for success in this way: hard work plus an optimal working rhythm. As it turned out, he works 100 hours a week to complete his tasks. In addition to the listed components, there are other factors, among which were creativity, the ability of a manager, the ability to establish relationships with colleagues and, of course, luck. However, four main features are most important for success: knowledge of their business, common sense, self-confidence, the ability to finish the job. The basis of a successful business is victory over Chachandra. Surprisingly, the main opponent of a person's success is himself. More precisely, his inner Chachandra. To understand what a Chachandra is and what it does, let's remember Rudyard Kipling's charming fairy tale Rikki Tikki Tavi. Among the animals that get in the way of the brave mongoose Rikki, he also meets the muskrat Chachandra. She expects only failures and troubles from the future, and she is so afraid of everything that she runs only along the wall all her life and never goes to the middle of the room. Each of us has such a Chachandra inside, which often manages to slow down the most promising cases and turn a person's life into a continuous string of doubts. This is confirmed by a lot of talented and smart people who seem to have all the qualities necessary to open and successfully promote their business, but still do not have their own business. And there is one reason here: they're Chachandra, who are afraid of any changes. Relatively speaking, a Chachandra can be called a set of human traits that came to him from childhood and school years, when the ability to stick out and take risks gave nothing but unnecessary trouble. Each of us has a kind of cowardly rat in his soul, who is very afraid to act actively. Remember how many times you refused very promising offers just because you were afraid to prove yourself, to attract attention to yourself. Figuratively speaking, you were afraid to go to the middle of the room. If you believe you're Chachandra, then this will lead to uncertainty, and that in turn will entail indecision, which always negatively affects any activity. After a couple of failures caused by indecisive behavior, a missed moment, you begin to think that your inner Chachandra is right, and gradually lose interest in any new beginnings and promising projects. That's why even the most energetic people, full of creative ideas, sometimes lose opportunities for development and promotion. There are many examples when Chachandra dealt a crushing blow to the ambitions and plans of even the most energetic entrepreneurs. For example, a young and full of energy manager of a company strives to realize himself, develop some promising project that he is going to present to the director of the company. And although objectively the manager understands that his plan is good, that he can bring the company profit and expand the clientele, his inner voice begins to say the opposite. And if the director laughs at you? And if your colleagues tell you that you need it the most? And if the head of the department decides that I'm sitting him up? And if then I can't do this project because of lack of time? And much in the same spirit, capable of discouraging interest in new beginnings and creative work. Another action of the Chachandra rat is postponement to a later time. For tomorrow, for the day after tomorrow, for Monday, for summer. In a word, for later. When this then comes, the next then appears. And so it can go on indefinitely. If you feel good about Chekhov's works, then watching or reading his play Three Sisters can help you in the fight against procrastination. In each act, the sisters exclaim, "To Moscow, to Moscow," postponing the move for later, and gradually become almost servants to their daughter-in-law. Almost the same picture is in business. If you constantly postpone for later and do not accept promising offers, then there will gradually be fewer and fewer such offers. How to deal with your cowardly rat, which prevents you from actively acting. Here you should work on yourself using very effective exercises that exist in Gestalt psychology. One of the most effective exercises is counterattack. To every fear of your Chachandra, you must respond with effective counterarguments and tell yourself that you are not afraid to go to the middle of the room. Internal playback of negative situations in advance will help a lot. Imagine all the worst things that can happen with the opening of your business. And think about it, is everything really so catastrophic? Or does it look like that only for the cowardly Chachandra? And the brave mongoose Rikki Tikki Tavi will cope with all the problems without even noticing it. Most often, 4 reasons are given as negative factors. The first one, I don't have enough time. The second, I'm not cut out for this. The third, they won't support me. Fourth, I'm too young or too old for such things. Think about whether such factors are really insurmountable. Don't you know people who have achieved success often not so much in spite of these reasons, but thanks to them? These 4 reasons are just excuses not to take risks, not to make mistakes and not to fail. That is, the main reason that makes very capable and literate people postpone the start of their business for later is the fear of failure. Failure lowers self-esteem, so a person tries to avoid it by any means, even if it leads to inaction and stagnation. If you want to achieve something in life, don't be afraid of failure. Fearing them, you admit defeat before the battle begins. Even if you are crushed at the first stage of the formation of your business, it does not mean anything. Tell yourself, like Napoleon, I lost one battle, but I didn't lose the whole war. And continue in the same spirit. Let failures be afraid of you, not you of them. The basic principles of a successful person. Everyone has their own principles. Even what is called unscrupulousness can be translated as the principle of my benefit above all. Every successful person has his own developed principles according to which he lives and conducts his business. What are the basic principles of a successful businessman? The first principle: all important decisions are made only in the morning. In the morning, with a fresh head, it is always easier to see the solution to the problem. The second principle is to constantly challenge yourself. Each of us has two sides. One constantly doubts and fears, and the second likes to take risks and strive for new things. A successful person constantly sets himself more and more complex tasks and successfully solves them. Challenge your doubts, prove to yourself that you can do a lot. The third principle is not to waste time. If everything is calculated, then you should not waste time, but move on to action. The fourth principle is to have fun. No pessimist has succeeded yet. Consider failure as an opportunity to gain experience. The fifth principle is that if a person cannot, then he must. Everyone faces difficulties, but the winner is the one who overcomes them, even by force, in the second breath, opening up their internal reserves. You need to remember that no one else can overcome your difficulties. In the end, the road will be mastered by the walking.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the new items.
Chapter: How to Set Goals Correctly. Why do you need to clearly formulate goals? A clear formulation of the set goals and objectives is necessary in order to make the business successful. The same principle is true for career advancement, and for the creation and development of your business. If you do not allocate time to accurately determine your goals, then you will have to help those who know how to do it to achieve the goal all your life. A person who does not know how to formulate and clearly define his goals is forced to make a career in a field that he does not like at all, or will waste his efforts aimlessly. If a clear statement of goals is so important for life, then why do only a few take the time to determine exactly what they want from life and in which direction they are going to go? Part of the reason is that people are not taught how to define life goals. This is not done either at school or at university. You can get a prestigious education, but never learn how to prioritize and set clear achievable goals. The second reason is a lack of understanding of how important it is to formulate goals in a timely and clear manner. But the person who understands the significance of the formulation of their aspirations and knows how to clearly define them is able to achieve much more than those who do not have goals. Very often, the reason for the reluctance to set specific goals is the fear of making a mistake or failing. Theodore Roosevelt, who led the United States out of the crisis in the first half of the 20th century, once said that the best thing to do is to make the right decision. The best thing to do is to make a mistake. And the worst thing that can be done is not to take any action. In life, the definition of even the most arbitrary goal will be much better than aimless living day after day. Many people believe that if they are already moving somewhere, then this in itself means that there is some kind of goal. This state of affairs is an illusion, because a person's actions aimed at organizing a business or earning more money are not goals, but directions. The goal and directions differ in about the same way as reaching the summit of Mount Everest differs from going east. In order not to wander through life, you should define your goals very precisely. This means that if you are asked a question, "Have you achieved your specific goal?" you have to answer either yes or no. Maybe it doesn't count as an answer. For example, a clear goal can be considered to achieve such and such an income in such and such a month. Since the question is whether the goal has been achieved, you can give an affirmative or negative answer. It is this level of clarity that should be present in every goal set. The second prerequisite for goal setting is detail. You need to be as specific as possible. Give yourself specific dates. Each of the components of the goal must be measurable, and each goal must be measurable so that you can judge its achievement. The third condition for achieving goals is their written fixation. This means that you should definitely write them down as a personal positive statement in the present or past tense. If you have not fixed your goal on the letter, then it remains an empty fantasy. You should set goals that you really want to achieve and record it as if the event has already happened. For example, there is no need to write that this year I will earn so much money. It should be noted that this year I earned so much money. How to set goals correctly. It is believed that it is useless to dream, since dreams come true extremely rarely, and only then do they come true when they have transformed into clear goals. What is the difference between a dream and a goal? The first difference is that we keep our dreams in mind, and we always write down our goals. The second difference is that the goal requires a specific performer, and in dreams everything happens as if by itself. The third difference is that to achieve any goal, you need to spend something: money, time, effort. Thus, by writing down the goals, you determine what kind of investment it will require. It is investments, not costs, since the goal is obliged to recoup all costs, otherwise why is it needed at all? After the goal is formulated and recorded, it is necessary to analyze the ratio of resources spent and bonuses that will be received after reaching the goal. If it turns out that the goal requires too much money, and the benefits from it are doubtful, then they should be abandoned, at least at this stage. Each of us at least once in his life said to himself, no, you can't go on living like this. That's why I'm starting from Monday, starting from the new year, to play sports, or B, to learn English, or C, to go on a diet, or D, to quit smoking, or D, to create my own business. So ad infinitum. But the promises made about themselves remained promises. And all because there are three components missing in the set goals. The first component is the lack of a specific formulated goal. For example, if you decide to create your own business, how exactly? Where are you going to rent a room? Or are you going to buy a franchise? If you want to learn English, what result do you want to achieve? Read English language literature fluently, or you need knowledge of the spoken language to listen to movies without dubbing. The second component is a specific measurement of the result achieved over a certain period of time. For example, what kind of business result will suit you? Organization of a law firm, or do you want to act as a private entrepreneur? Are you going to have subordinates or not? That is, you have to focus on some specific result that you want to achieve. For example, to open a store or service companies in such and such an area with a specific amount of profit. The third component is the time frame during which we can already say that the goal is yielding results. That is, if you want to set a specific goal for yourself, then it must be real and achievable. In order to find out how achievable the goal is, break the total time period into smaller stages. For example, you set a goal to earn $100,000 in the first year thanks to your new business. This means that every day your business should make a profit of $274, which is unrealistic at the first stages. The second point to pay attention to. This is to realize why you need to achieve your goal. Effective motivation will be the high importance of the goal for you personally. If, for example, you have to go to the UK or the USA in 6 months, then you will have a high motivation to learn English, studying hard every day. If you decide to learn a language just like that, for yourself, without imagining what kind of benefit it will give, then in a month or two you will give up your classes. Having received answers to all the above questions, try to carve out a couple of hours and write down a few immediate goals that you want to achieve in one or another direction of your activity. After the deadlines and milestones for achieving the goals are determined, enter them in your diary. If you make constant efforts, you will notice that every day will bring you closer to the desired result. However, in the process of moving towards the goal, unforeseen events may occur that will force you to adjust your actions at various stages. And remember, goals are not something that awaits you on a silver platter. You can't just reach out and take them. First, you define the goals for yourself. Second, you make efforts to achieve them yourself. And third, you are responsible for the consequences of achieving them. The chapter is all about business partners. How to choose the right business partners. The sphere of business relations differs in that there are no friends in it. There are only partners in it. To confirm this, a textbook dialogue between the head of the company and his acquaintance is often given. The manager is asked, how could you fire him, because he is your friend? To which he replies, yes, but he's not a friend of the firm. Thus, when creating business connections in business, you should only look for partners who will be useful for your company to work with. However, if you are just starting your business, it can be very difficult to choose a partner. Aspiring businessmen make a common mistake, trying to establish business ties with people with whom they have good friendly relations, considering friendship a guarantee that a person will not let them down. However, in most cases, a partner friend sees friendship as an opportunity to be inaccurate at best in fulfilling contractual obligations, and at worst will be dishonest in financial transactions. In fairness, it should be noted that the same applies to partners, relatives who may behave as if your business belongs to them and will act accordingly. So, the main rule that you should clearly understand: there are no friends or relatives in business, but only business partners. Therefore, it is best to choose partners among third-party people with whom you do not have any friendly or family relations. You will have less trouble, business will not suffer, and peace of mind in family and friendly relations will remain. How do you still learn to choose partners? Unfortunately, business is an area where it is impossible to say for sure that this partner is absolutely honest until you work with him for at least some time. However, there are some details to keep in mind when laying the foundation for a new business. So, before you start working with an organization, collect as much information about it as possible, try to find those who have already collaborated with it and can objectively assess the quality of partnerships. However, no recommendations will replace your experience. Therefore, you should first conclude a contract for a short period of time in order to more thoroughly judge the prospective partner. Be sure to pay attention to the history of your possible business partners. If the company is new, which has not yet proven itself, and you do not know anything about it, it is better not to contact it. Perhaps it's a shell company that will take advantage of your finances and disappear. Be vigilant with large companies offering you cooperation on too favorable terms. Perhaps such a company will crush small firms, whose owners will be helpless in front of such a giant. Pay attention to the details. Indirectly, they can tell a lot about the organization. Take a closer look at whether the representatives of the partner company are punctual, how much they observe business etiquette in communication, whether the style of their clothes corresponds to the position of the company they represent, and so on. During the first negotiations, it makes sense to use the service of blocking cell phones and suppressing voice recorders. After all, partners may turn out to be ordinary spies who collect information about a young organization in order to subsequently either sell this information to interested people, or try to oust your company from its business niche themselves. If negotiations take place on your territory, do not leave the representatives of the partner company alone. In the event that this still happened, be sure to check the room for bugs. If such a listening device is found, then think about whether you need spy partners. Criteria for evaluating partner companies. If you feel that you do not have enough experience to intuitively determine whether a particular company is suitable for you to cooperate, you should use evaluation criteria that make it easy to determine how professional a company is in its field of activity. It doesn't matter what a bicycle sales company or furniture manufacturer does. The criteria are common to all fields of activity. The first is the history of the company's business relations. If it is well known in the market, works for a long time, and you hear only the best reviews about it, then mark it with a plus sign. However, the history of the company is not the main indicator, since it is not uncommon that over time the quality of its work has deteriorated and continues to deteriorate. Or the financial crisis has affected her so much that she is about to go bankrupt. Secondly, you need to find out who is the owner of the company. Try to find out as much as possible about the owner of the company. If he has already been seen in dark financial affairs, then it is better not to contact the company. Third, the quality of a company's work is the quality of a product or service. This is very important. Read reviews on the internet, evaluate the quality yourself by temporarily becoming a client of the company. After all, the reputation of your business will depend on the quality of your partner's work. Fourth, how transparent and automated business processes are in the company. Currently, this indicator is one of the defining ones. After all, if a partner company invests heavily in information technology, then you can get a report at any time, get your profit or pay for the necessary services or goods via the internet. Fifth, how clearly the agreements are being implemented. This is one of the most important points. If from the very first days the company does not fulfill the terms of the contract, referring to some seemingly objective reasons, then it should say goodbye. Sixth, how transparent are financial relations and schemes? If the company sets up too complex motivational schemes, then think about it, with so many conditions, will you get your money? Therefore, look for such partners who establish simple and understandable financial arrangements. The seventh is how much the company's management is inclined to compromise. If the managers of the partner company accept only one correct opinion, their own, then working with them is an extra waste of time and effort, and sometimes finances. Any business is a team effort, so the ability to listen to a partner, change your tactics in order to achieve a mutually acceptable option is a very valuable property in cooperation. The goal of the partner company. Find out the ultimate goal of a potential business partner. If there is one, and the company has a strategic development plan for the years ahead, then the company is aimed at long-term development. This means that she is suitable for you as a long-term partner. How to build relationships in business. With the start of your business, you will have to establish business ties. To do this, you need to be able to create the right relationship with a partner, learn how to work in a team. Everyone who builds partnerships is interested in the question of who to attract to their business in terms of the benefits of investment and how to build conflict-free partnerships. In addition, at the beginning of the development of your business, characteristic mistakes can be made that can be avoided. In order to choose the most profitable partner who is ready to invest money in your business, you should follow some general rules. There are several options for investment partnerships. Case number 1. The partner invests money, but does not interfere in the work of your company. An investment of the money type. The first case is when a partner invests heavily in expensive and long-term projects. This is justified when the financial support of the partner is very large and will be carried out for quite a long period. If the investment is small, a computer and office furniture, office space, then you should not contact such an investor. Such a partner will become a burden and quite possibly will try to impose on you his understanding of how to develop your business, which will certainly lead to conflict. Case number 2. The partner invests money and takes part in the work of the company. An investment like money plus brains. The second case is when a partner not only invests money, but also takes part in the development of your business. This assumes that the partner has a certain amount of knowledge, even if not exactly on the topic of your business, but in those areas that can be useful, finance, marketing and charms, and more. The benefits of such a partner's participation in the case are undoubtedly, but this somewhat restricts the freedom of decision-making. In case number 3, the partner invests intellectual resources in the company. An investment like brains. The third case is that the partner invests his knowledge in your business. In this case, the situation looks the opposite. It is you who attract a person who has certain knowledge, without which your business will not receive active development or will be completely impossible. Here, you bear the main financial risks, and the partner, although he invests his knowledge in the project, often feels not like a master, but an employee. It should be noted that the partner who has invested his money in the business begins to treat him much more responsibly. You can list the main mistakes that take place when creating a business partnership. These include the absence of a scenario of what to do when a partnership is broken. The absence of a well-developed plan in the event that it is necessary to attract additional funds from outside. Lack of trust between business partners. Not paying salaries to those partners who work in the company and invest their labor in the project. That is, when partners who are not working in the project, but only have invested their money in it, believe that it is enough to pay a profit. Remember a few rules for building partnerships. Never take friends as business partners, namely real friends, and not just acquaintances, unless you're willing to sacrifice friendship for money. Do not include a close relative of a friend or girlfriend in a business partnership. It is also fraught with deterioration of friendly relations. In a business partnership, women are more responsible and reliable. If you are just starting your business path and are going to enter into a partnership with a business shark, then be prepared for the fact that she will want to eat your business. To avoid this, try to gain weight quickly in the field of business and become a shark too, even if not so large. And finally, never completely rely on a partner, always have a calculated backup option in case of a break in partnership. The main thing in business is your employees. Since cadres decide everything, this chapter will discuss in detail all the points related to the creation of a team and the ability to effectively lead it. A self-respecting leader should always start with himself, so in the first section you will learn what rules a leader should adhere to. We all spend most of our lives at work, so we want to have a normal relationship with subordinates. How to make sure that they comply with the chain of command and accurately fulfill the instructions given to them. So, how should a manager behave if he wants not only to be a good organizer, but also to strive to be respected? First of all, you should choose the right tone. Both dictatorial and familiar tone are unacceptable. Treat your subordinates in a friendly manner, not forgetting the standard words of politeness, please be kind, thank you, I ask you, and the like. If your subordinate made a mistake and you want to make a remark, do it face to face, but not in the presence of other employees. A reprimand made in public will not achieve the goal. The employee may realize that he is wrong, but he will not forgive you for humiliating him in front of others. If you have to fire a person, do it in person, be sure to be alone, not forgetting to say goodbye how sorry you are that you have to resort to such a measure. If you had to fire one employee, explain to the remaining subordinates why you had to do this and what it was connected with. If you want to be respected, treat your subordinates with the same respect. Control your words and actions, because a carelessly spoken word can hurt a person. If employees respect you and a friendly atmosphere develops in the team, this will have a positive effect on labor efficiency. How to train employees. Recruitment and training of new employees is of great importance for business development and its efficiency. No matter how prepared your employees are, sooner or later you will have to recruit new ones and prepare them, as they say, from scratch. There can be many reasons. Someone will go into another business, someone will want to open their own, someone will just quit and so on. In order for your business to be stable and not depend on how many people quit their jobs, you must have a clear and well thought out system of staff training. If the employee training system is effective enough, you will be able to completely update your team within a few months without compromising your business. And although people should not be forced to leave, you need to be prepared for the fact that the best employees can leave, at least in order to open their own business. And it is possible that they will try to take other trained strong colleagues with them. Your business must be set up in such a way as to successfully withstand such tests. To solve such a problem, you need to provide 3 main points. Moment number 1. Your company should have an advantage in the labor market. This means that when you post vacancies, you get a lot of resumes from people who want to work for you and only you. And in order to choose a truly worthy employee, you will need a rigorous selection based on several parameters. Moment number 2. Adaptation of a new employee. If an employee came to you and started working, it is not yet a fact that he will want to work for you permanently. The decision to leave or stay depends on how the first days of the new employee's work went. If new people do not receive enough attention in the first few days, especially in the first few hours, then they may soon inform you that they are not satisfied with such a job and you will again be left with a vacant job. Therefore, it is very important that each new employee at the company has his own supervisor who would help him to join the team. While the novice is adapting, it is advisable to release his mentor from other duties. Moment number 3. Professional training of a new employee. After the newcomer adapts to a new place of work, a professional development program begins. It is very important that such a program allows an employee to gradually ascend the career and service ladder. Let's take for example the recruitment of new employees in the technical service of a company that provides internet communication services. First, a new employee works in customer support. After some time, with the acquisition of experience, he can become either an installer adjuster of corporate connections, or a shift night attendant. The next stage is the position of a system administrator, then a shift day attendant, who is fully responsible for the functioning of the entire network during the shift. The final stage is the position of a leading system administrator who builds and develops networks. How to build relationships with subordinates correctly. Properly built relationships in the work team are of great importance. The effectiveness of the entire business depends on how the manager manages to build his relationships with subordinates. If production relations are built correctly, if they are based on trust and cooperation, then it will be very easy to realize your goals and objectives in your company. Remember, as a leader, you should not think badly of your subordinates. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to manage the team effectively. Subordinates should feel that the leader is trying not to punish them, but to cheer them up. It is best when relationships are organized in such a way that subordinates perceive their company as a family. However, this does not mean that they can behave as relaxed as on vacation. Subordinates need to be taught to be responsible for their work. If an employee makes a mistake in his work for the first time, he should be sent for additional training. If he makes similar mistakes again, it is best to find a worthy replacement for him. In addition, the manager must clearly distribute the loads among subordinates, paying attention to the fact that no one is idle and does not overwork. If it is permissible, it is better to keep piecework wages or bonuses for the fact that the task was completed efficiently, before the set time. It would be a huge mistake to require subordinates to do something that does not relate to their immediate responsibilities. It is very important to identify those who seek to shirk work in time, since the presence of such a person receiving a salary in the same amount as a hardworking employee can dramatically reduce the efficiency of even the most combat team. Establishing the right relationships with subordinates, the leader has to balance on the razor's edge. On the one hand, it does not strive for authoritarianism, since it suppresses the creative initiative of subordinates. On the other hand, it does not allow familiarity, since this leads to a sharp drop in discipline. Since for the successful solution of many tasks it is necessary to create a corporate spirit and form a team of professionals, it is recommended to hold corporate events, for example, parties on the occasion of the anniversary of the company or one of the employees, or arrange field trips. If there is a vacancy in the state, do not try to fill it quickly. Try to find an employee who will fit into the team, be able to work in a team and become your like-minded person. Only when you form a team of like-minded people who will consider the company's goals as their own, you will be able to manage them effectively. After all, the times when subordinates endured the nagging of their superiors, fearing to be unemployed, are a distant past. Now the manager is not dealing with a faceless work team, but with educated and ambitious people who know the value of their professional knowledge and are quite capable of quitting themselves. Therefore, the question of how to manage subordinates becomes more and more relevant for a modern manager. How to manage subordinates? Modern employees in terms of education, professional experience and competence are often in no way inferior to their boss, and sometimes even surpass him. Neither threats, nor claims, nor the possibility of dismissal will frighten a highly qualified specialist who is able to find a better place in another organization. Therefore, experienced managers are very interested in a conflict-free atmosphere at work. Thanks to this, a special psychological climate is created, which forms trust and the ability to compromise. As practice shows, soft management methods are much more effective than talking in raised tones, insults and punishments for the slightest offense. Psychologists say that most newly minted managers fail not at all because their professional level is too low. Most often, their failures are due to the fact that they do not know how to build relationships with people correctly. And here it is very important to learn and order subordinates, but so that these orders are carried out. This is very important, since the activities of any organization will be as successful as the orders of the management are clearly and smoothly carried out. And the higher the head is in his position, the more expensive unfulfilled orders will cost the organization. The average manager gives a lot of important assignments during the day, the number of which can reach several hundred, and does not think about how important it is to formulate the requirements correctly. And in vain, since most of the orders are not carried out because they were incorrectly formulated. Let's consider the main reasons for not fulfilling the requests of the head. The first reason. The subordinate simply did not understand your order. After all, only at first glance it seems as if we speak the same language. In order for your subordinates to clearly understand your requirements, you need to speak the same professional language, have the same level of intelligence and education, logically express your thoughts and the like. The main reason that your order was not understood is not its concreteness. The order must be clearly formulated. For example, to prepare such and such documents by such and such a time. The second reason for non-fulfillment of the order is the rejection of the head as a person who has the right to order, and his requirements. The main thing here is not that the subordinate did not understand your order, but that he does not accept either you as a boss or your right to order him. And here it is very important to reach an understanding with a subordinate. It would be a big mistake to try to convince him. You shouldn't do that. The problem is that the employee does not see his personal benefit, which is most often expressed in monetary terms. Do not forget that the benefit for the company, which is so significant for you, is not at all an argument for an ambitious employee who wants to have something for himself. Therefore, if you see that an employee is smart and qualified and it's not about his line at all, be sure to find out why he does not accept your point of view. This is a disagreement with the way you conduct business or simply a misunderstanding to employees of what they will get from it. As a leader, you should understand that few subordinates will dare to openly speak out against their boss. Therefore, protests acquire such a hidden, veiled character and are most pronounced at the stage of orders, since at this stage the manager can force the subordinate to such actions that contradict his principles, ideological attitudes and views. In order to manage people most effectively, psychologists have developed the following techniques. 10 Secrets of Effective Leadership. The secrets of effective people management can be used in communication with employees and will greatly facilitate the establishment of interpersonal contacts. Their use makes it possible to achieve several goals. The first, a leader who has proved himself to be a subtle psychologist will very soon raise his image in the eyes of subordinates. The second, thanks to these methods, it will be possible to mitigate coercion, without which there is no relationship between a boss and a subordinate. Third, this eliminates the contradictions that often arise between the purpose of the organization's activities and the personal desires of subordinates. What are the principles of effective leadership? The first, it is necessary to take into account the lexicon, the information fund that your subordinate has. After all the words directed to him, a person always correlates with his dictionary, which was formed as a result of obtaining a unique life experience. In order to avoid misunderstanding, the boss should always take into account the level of education of his subordinate and adapt his speech accordingly. The second, the order should not be ironic and should not sound ambiguous. Even if you are well read and your speech in a private conversation is replete with vivid comparisons and metaphors, this is unacceptable for an order. After all, your comparisons and artistic images can be perceived differently by different people. Therefore, the order should sound extremely specific. No double values. To do this and that in such and such a time. Third, you should not give an order from yourself personally, using the expression I said, I want, I urgently need. Thus, you translate working relationships into interpersonal ones, giving orders not as an official, but as a private person. At the same time, there is an internal rejection of your words by subordinates. Something like someone to order me around? And the personal desire of the boss is a personal desire that may well not be fulfilled. Expressions will sound more pleasant to the ears of your subordinates. For our company, you need to. To prevent this from happening with us, you need to, and the like. Speaking in this way, you are not speaking on your own behalf, on behalf of the company. Fourth, when talking to subordinates, you should always remember about intonations. The French say the tone makes the song. You can say the most correct words, but an aggressive, insulting or mocking tone will lead to the fact that the employee will begin to sabotage your orders. If the employee is qualified, then such a tone can lead to the fact that he will quit. Sometimes managers accompany the order with offensive jokes or ironic remarks. Orders are often given in a dismissive tone. If you turn the process of delegating authority into a demonstration of your own superiority, this will lead to the fact that the most valuable and qualified employees will simply leave you for the company where the attitude towards employees is more friendly. In addition, the employee will poorly understand the order, which is given in an emotional form. All his attention will be directed to the personality of the leader with the rejection of his right to order in this form. And it should not be surprising that most orders given in an insulting, ironic, mocking or contemptuous tone, etc., are poorly understood by subordinates and are often not carried out by them. The negative emotions that arise immediately block the logic of thinking, and the subordinate may really not remember the order or distort its essence. Do not forget that an offended employee may try to take revenge, for example, by informing the relevant authorities about the minor frauds of his company. Fifth, give up the habit of giving an order after criticizing the employee for his previous mistakes. You should not start your speech with a negative, even if the employee has made some omissions. It is much better to praise your subordinate beforehand, give him an order and express confidence that he will perform the assigned task at the usual high professional level for him. Do not allow an employee to listen to your orders while being full of negative emotions. Do not allow statements like "look, don't mix anything up, like last time." That is, you should only give an order without discussing the professional qualities of your employee. If you want to talk about the quality of a subordinate's work, invite him to the office and express complaints about his work, and then confidence that in the future he will work flawlessly. Sixth, no matter how many subordinates you have, try to remember everyone's name. Napoleon and Alexander the Great knew the names of all their soldiers, and they were ready to do anything for the sake of their military leaders. Contact the subordinate by name and patronymic, and if possible, to you. Firstly, in this way you keep your distance, avoiding the possible familiarity of relatives or friends working in your company. Secondly, subordinates will take the order made in a correct polite tone much more seriously and responsibly. Practice shows that subordinates carry out the orders of those people who experience positive emotions much faster and more efficiently. Seventh, use compliments. If you see that your subordinate negatively perceives your order, try to smooth out the negative with a compliment combined with a little self-reproach. For example, ask a subordinate how he manages to solve the issues assigned to him so quickly, while you, his boss, spend much more time on it. The effect will be much greater if you praise your subordinate not face to face, but in the presence of other employees. Remember that you should only slightly exaggerate the merits of your subordinate so that he sees that they appreciate both him and the work he has done. Thus, the subordinate's need for recognition of merit will be satisfied and his attitude towards you will change to the opposite, from negative to positive. Unfortunately, many managers have learned from the past the tradition of harsh treatment of subordinates. It is not clear why most of them believe that an employee can be spoiled, praised. As a result, he will think too much about himself. At the same time, the peculiarity of the new times is not taken into account. The very type of subordinate has changed. For the most part, these are qualified, intelligent people who know their worth perfectly well. No amount of intimidation and urging of the authorities will lead to more efficient work. Rather, the opposite is true, a constant staff turnover. If you want to become an effective manager, remember that the method of moderate praise and respectful attitude works much better than insulting and humiliating employees. Eighth, if you see that an employee resists your order, do an unexpected act, a kind of night move. For example, first ask your obstinate subordinate for advice. What do you think our company should do? If someone who holds a higher position asks for advice, it naturally increases self-esteem and self-esteem. The resulting positive emotions are associated with the one who caused them. However, this method should not be abused. Firstly, it does not work for everyone. There are people who can perceive such a generous gesture as a sign of weakness or uncertainty of the leader and will try to sit on his head later. Secondly, such behavior eventually loses the power of its impact. The ninth. Try giving orders in a question form. Most subordinates perceive this form of giving orders best of all. Naturally, subordinates understand that all this is just a well-disguised order, but its kind form "could you tomorrow, would you agree today?" It causes much more desire to do what was so politely asked. The 10th. When giving an order, always emphasize the personal benefit of the subordinate from the execution of the order. Any order is executed much more efficiently if the subordinate understands that it is beneficial not only to the company, but also to him personally. If a person has no personal interest in following orders, he works at an average level, without enthusiasm. But you need him to work with a spark, right? Chapter Competition, Evil or Good? The benefits of competition for the entrepreneur. The modern market cannot be imagined without fierce competition. Competition in business is a harsh reality, and creating your own business, you can't ignore it. Even the heads of those companies who prefer to call their market competitors partners will complain in conversation that a competitor snatched the best order from under their noses and took away a good client. From the point of view of legislation, competition can be both honest, good faith, and dishonest, unfair. Fair competition consists in market analysis, correct marketing and/or management decisions. Unfair competition involves collusion, which is being started with the aim of setting high prices on the market, using administrative resources, abuse of monopoly position, in general, all dishonest techniques aimed at obtaining money not due to the high quality of goods or services, but clever machinations. What is the benefit of competition for a simple domestic entrepreneur? How does competition affect the consumer? The main benefit of competition is very simple. Without it, business development begins to go in completely different ways that the consumer needs. The case of Peter the Great is often cited as an example. The Russian Tsar liked the wines brought by Novgorod merchants so much that he gave them a monopoly on the wine trade. A year later, the Tsar sincerely wondered why merchants instead of good wine began to sell some sour stuff. Therefore, before you grieve about the competition that exists in your field of activity, think about something else, about the benefits that competition brings you. Benefit number 1. If your business has competitors, then your direction is promising. If other entrepreneurs want to engage in this type of activity, then the demand for your goods or services is quite high. Having studied the market trends, you will be able to take clever marketing actions that will smoothly direct consumers in your direction. Benefit number 2. If there are competitors in your field of activity who have been working for more than 1 year, then why wouldn't they succeed? Contact them as a customer, use their service, product, compare with what you offer and draw conclusions. Take an interest in the technology of competitors. This will allow you to improve your business. In Western countries, competitors are often perceived as teachers from whom you can learn a lot of useful things for your business. Benefit number 3. Consider your competitor as a benchmark who needs to try on their achievements. If, for example, the overall demand for services or goods is growing, and your clientele is decreasing, think about why this is so. Look at the difference between the services or goods of your competitors, who are increasing their clientele, and also draw conclusions. Benefit number 4. Undoubtedly, a competitor can also be considered a partner. When difficult business conditions arise, manufacturers and entrepreneurs can form associations, which allows them to solve emerging problems and survive in difficult times. Benefit number 5. Competition allows your business to develop creatively without allowing stagnation. Note that it is possible to compete not only with prices, but with many other services, personnel, and the latest technologies that are no less attractive to the client. Benefit number 6. Thanks to constant fierce competition, there is progress. To make the product more attractive and useful for the consumer, new technologies are being introduced, new inventions are being used. The new products received are in great demand, sales are increasing accordingly. The benefits of competition for the consumer. It should be noted that not only an entrepreneur who successfully develops his business benefits from competition, the client also wins. The advantages of competition, which is felt by an ordinary person who wants to purchase a product or service, are listed below. The first plus is the possibility of choice. In Soviet times, if anyone remembers them, there was no choice. All stores offered a standard set of products with standard prices and standard quality, which did not always meet the needs of the buyer. The same applied to the service sector. Currently, the consumer can choose a hairdresser, a dry cleaner, a pharmacy, a beauty salon and the like. The abundance of grocery supermarkets allows you to choose the one in which the best assortment for the buyer, optimal prices from his point of view. The second plus is the buyer's confidence in the bright future of the purchased goods. Since there is competition, and new enterprises are growing like mushrooms after the rain, the client understands that the goods will become better and better, their prices will be more affordable. The third plus is that by purchasing a product or service, the consumer feels like a person. After all, thanks to the wide choice of places where this product or service is offered, there is a real struggle for every client in every company or organization. After all, if you liked the service, the buyer will visit such a company or organization more than once and can become a regular customer. The fourth plus is the opportunity to find the optimal ratio of quality and price. For example, currently there is a wide selection of so-called budget models of mobile phones that have the necessary set of functions at quite affordable prices. At the same time, there is a wide selection of advanced mobile phones with a touch screen, GPS, Bluetooth and the like with a much higher cost. How to win from competitors? Since competitors exist and will always exist, then this fact should not be fought, but taken into account. That is, it is necessary to build your business strategy in such a way that your business not only does not suffer, but even benefits from the presence of competitors in your market of services or goods. First, you should clearly identify your competitive advantages. Determine what your firm is really strong in or, in business terms, identify its key competencies. In order to simplify the definition of your key competencies, use the table. It should take into account the most important parameters for both your company and your customers. Enter your company and your competitors in the table. Then give points to yourself and your competitors. Try to do this not from the point of view of an interested person, but from the point of view of customers using goods or services. That is, as objectively as possible. By filling out such a table, you will be able to understand what place your company occupies in the market of goods or services. After that, you should choose the advantages that are most promising for development. Business sharks know how difficult it is to be a leader in all directions, so choose one or more directions in which you are going to achieve an advantage. You can choose several options. For example, the ability to offer products or goods at affordable prices due to the huge scale of production, as a result of which you reduce your costs to a minimum. A striking example of such a strategy is McDonald's. The volume of production allows you to achieve significant savings or a unique product or service of the highest quality. An example would be an elite restaurant or a narrow market niche in which there is practically no competition. For example, a restaurant on a lake or on an island. Try not to spray. If you are developing various business lines, analyze each of them and give up those that are clearly not promising for you. Your company's resources are not unlimited and it is best to direct them to where they will benefit. Negative aspects of competition. The positive aspects of competition listed above are visible when the fight for the client is conducted by honest, legal methods. However, most entrepreneurs have a very negative attitude to competition and would like, to be honest, to become monopolists in their sphere of goods and services. In addition, when competing, not entirely honest methods of struggle are often used. One of the most common is price reduction, in other words dumping. The essence of this technique is that one of the competing companies begins to reduce prices in order to entice a large number of customers, consumers. And the more competitors there are in this market area, the higher the probability that someone will start lowering prices. The price reduction has a negative impact on the consumer, as it leads to a decrease in quality and to the natural dissatisfaction of the consumer, who no longer wants to use such services and/or such goods. Unfortunately, many entrepreneurs who do not have a developed business start their activities by trying to attract customers with lower prices. And if the initial price reduction did not lead to the result they expected, entrepreneurs further reduce the price. The quality drops even more, the number of sales of consumers of services too. This is how the vicious circle closes. This is the reason for the bankruptcy of many firms in the first year of their existence. The bankrupt firms are replaced by new ones, and only those that take into account all the realities of the modern market and are able to attract customers using non-price methods are delayed in business. Learn to learn. A dozen years ago, domestic entrepreneurs did not have a problem related to improving their educational level. In order for the business to develop successfully, it was enough to have irrepressible energy, a set of certain qualities and luck. However, now the market has changed radically. Tough competition requires a completely different approach. The knowledge and skills that were sufficient for the past have ceased to meet the current requirements. It's time for the manager to learn as well. However, studying is not only called taking business courses of varying duration. The concept of learning is interpreted quite broadly, since you can learn from everyone. As strange as it may sound, you can learn from anyone. For example, a businessman developing a trade in toys and children's clothing can learn a lot of useful things from a child. Of course, to do this, you just need to observe the child, notice which colors he prefers, which toys interested him more. You can also talk to customers who came to the children's clothing store. Even a simple observation of parents and children will give answers that will be more accurate than the advice of the most qualified marketer. Strictly speaking, marketing research, which is conducted before starting a new business or before expanding an existing one, is a special case of learning from someone, since it uses statistical data from surveys of potential buyers. For example, if you want to estimate the planned revenue of a new trading business, you first collect data on the level of competition, average prices for the same goods, where the outlet is located, and learn about the level of consumer activity and demand. It should be noted that the initial source of any marketing information is information obtained as a result of surveys, observations, and experimental studies. For example, in order to assess the level of consumer activity in the place that was chosen to establish a point of sale, a competitive point of sale, the number of buyers, the average purchase price, and the like are monitored. This makes it possible to evaluate the location of your point of sale. In addition, other marketing research is being conducted. For example, a sociological survey is conducted to find out what a particular buyer is guided by when purchasing a product. Later, a certain average portrait of the person for whom this outlet should be calculated is compiled. There are a great many examples of how to learn from anyone. And all this allows us to draw one conclusion: the collection of information, its accumulation and subsequent analysis are the basis of any business. Without this, the business will be unstable to external adverse market influences. And the main purpose of training a businessman should be to develop a special worldview that helps to evaluate yourself objectively, to know your strengths and weaknesses. You also need a minimum of knowledge in the field of business in which you intend to work. However, this does not mean at all that the leader should be both a Schvetz, and a reaper, and an Eigretz on the Duda. He may be a marketer, but he may not be one, just as he may not be an accountant or a lawyer. Studying will give him something more important: wisdom that will help him understand the essence of the situation, correctly formulate a problem for himself and invite a specialist who will help solve it. For example, the director of a sewing company is not required to have the same skills as a seamstress or a fashion designer, but he must most effectively organize the work of both the seamstress and the fashion designer. Chapter: Typical Mistakes and Myths of Business. Before an experienced manager grows out of a novice businessman, a lot of time passes, during which many mistakes have to be made and business thinking has to be learned the hard way. However, gaining experience does not necessarily have to be associated with learning from your own mistakes. The Iron Chancellor Otto von Bismarck used to say that only fools can learn from their mistakes, and an intelligent person learns from the mistakes of others. Therefore, the typical mistakes of novice businessmen will be outlined below, which you can completely avoid if you know about them in advance. Since the basis of any business is a team, typical mistakes in relations with subordinates will be considered first. The first and main mistake in relations with people subordinate to you is a violation of distance. The distance should be optimal, and deviation from the optimal distance in both directions is a gross mistake. Option number 1. Excessive proximity to subordinates. If a boss gets too close to his subordinates, he loses any opportunity to manage them. Friends, employees will treat the orders of the boss not as orders that need to be fulfilled, but as a friendly request that does not have to be fulfilled. Therefore, friends, subordinates can fail an extremely important task without the slightest remorse. However, this does not mean that friendship with subordinates is prohibited. You can be friends, but not at work. In order for your friends and subordinates to understand that work is one thing, and not working time is quite another, it should be emphasized. For example, if outside of work you call a friend by his first name and by your first name, then at work you should address him by your first name and patronymic. And you need to do it right away so that your friends understand that there will be no indulgence from you at work. Option number 2 is too much distance. No less often, newly minted bosses make another mistake: they set too much distance between themselves and subordinates, showing that the boss is almost God, and subordinates are mere mortals. Usually such a position is taken by people who have high self-esteem, who do not understand that a too distant boss loses not only human contact with those who do the main work, but also the respect he so aspires to. In some cases, excessive alienation may occur due to the fact that the boss has already had a sad experience of too close a distance. The second common mistake in dealing with subordinates is the distribution of work. When distributing work, you should not substitute subordinates with you, but also not burden them with the work that only you can do. And here it is especially important to pay attention to 2 points. The first: the boss is the first among equals. He cannot be smarter than all subordinates, not more experienced than all subordinates. This is not worth striving for, because the main thing that is required of a manager is to know the perspective, see the goals and rally the team to achieve them, and make every effort to do so. The second: the boss should not leave the subordinate alone with his work problems. He should find out what the essence of the problem is, try to help or find a solution. And do not forget to ask from time to time if the problem has been solved and if more help is needed. Typical mistakes of doing business. People starting their own business, as a rule, have a certain level of necessary knowledge, which, however, does not prevent them from making the same mistakes. The following are the most common mistakes of those who start their own business. Mistake number 1. There is no clear plan of action. Many aspiring entrepreneurs sincerely believe that time will tell, and they will be able to improvise in business just as they do in life. Unfortunately, business differs from everyday life in that it is impossible to let anything take its course here. And those aspiring entrepreneurs who do not have a prescribed plan of action, even for the first few months after the launch of their business project, are doomed to failure. If you have not made a plan of your actions in advance even before starting a business, then there is hardly time for this later. Therefore, if you want your business to be stable, write down your actions and plans for the coming year in advance. Make a list of what you need to do to attract and expand your clientele. Make a plan of what needs to be done so that your casual customers can become permanent. Work out a system of personnel search, recruitment, determine relationships with suppliers and the like. All this will not take you much time, but it will save you a lot of time in the future. If you want to learn business by the method of scientific poke, then you will only waste money. In order to make a plan of your actions in business, you will need the help of a consultant, or you will have to study a lot of books yourself. But even some kind of plan is much better than its absence. Mistake number 2. The startup capital is distributed incorrectly. Many aspiring entrepreneurs want a lot at once, so the startup capital is often spent illiterate, on expensive rent in the center, on a luxurious signboard, on state-of-the-art plumbing and the like. It is taken for granted that it is worth opening an office and hanging a chic signboard, as crowds of customers will gather in front of it. And since customers are in no hurry to attack an expensive office, it is not surprising that a year later many firms that started in this way declare bankruptcy or move somewhere on the outskirts. To prevent this from happening, ask yourself the question: where does money come from in business? Naturally from sales of services, goods, products and the like. The basis of any business is sales. Therefore, it is advisable to direct the available startup capital not to rent an expensive office, but to build a supply chain, distribution channels, sales. When prescribing the costly articles of your business project, remove from it everything that you can do without at first. Use an old printer. If you need a website to contact suppliers, make a simple one for now. You can do without an office, do without it. You will be able to purchase more expensive office equipment and a luxurious website later, when your business becomes profitable. That is, do not spend your startup capital on trifles. It should be aimed at making a profit. Mistake number 3. Misunderstanding of the importance of the target audience. Often, novice entrepreneurs are poorly oriented in such concepts as market segmentation and target audience. However, these are the fundamental factors that influence business success. If you do not decide before starting a business for whom your product, service is intended, you will not be able to develop a competent strategic plan for their promotion. Your advertising will be most effective when you know who it should be intended for. You must clearly represent those who are targeted by advertising. Who are these people, what is their income, what is their average age, and so on. Even if it seems to you that what you are offering may be of interest to everyone, you should not address advertising to everyone at once, it's a waste of money. The more accurately you represent your likely customer or buyer, the better result your marketing policy will give. Mistake number 4. Misunderstanding of the difference between sales and marketing. Aspiring entrepreneurs have little understanding of the differences between marketing and selling, believing that they are almost identical. However, this is not quite true. Figuratively speaking, the action that the seller takes so that a person who enters the store buys a product is a sale, and the action that a marketer takes so that a person enters your store is marketing. If you know your target audience, you will have no problems with where and how to advertise. There are many options for how to attract a client, and one advertising channel works better for one business, and for another completely different one. Mistake number 5. The expectation of instant profit. Aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those who have never had their own business before, do not perceive the obvious fact that business profits are not obtained immediately. And if the profit was not received in the first months, such businessmen wind down their business instead of showing a little patience. All business plans are calculated on the principle that there may be no profit at all in the first year. In the first months, a small business is only costly, then it becomes break-even, and after about 2 years, the profit from it becomes tangible. Therefore, when starting your business, you should be patient. In addition to the mistakes typical for aspiring entrepreneurs, there are misconceptions related to entrepreneurship and doing business. Below, the main myths of business are offered to your attention. The main myths of business. The first and main myth is that everyone can become an entrepreneur. Despite the fact that this ridiculous statement is somewhat akin to the statement that a cook can run the state, it is still actively promoted. Network structures like Herbalife, Oriflame, Avon and others made a special contribution to its propaganda. At paid seminars, it was actively argued that everyone can sell their products, there would be a little desire to work hard. As practice shows, only 5% of people have a set of qualities necessary for running a successful business. The second myth. The chosen ones become entrepreneurs. This myth is the opposite of the first one and is also not true. To become an entrepreneur, nothing supernatural is required, the missing features can be developed if desired. In addition, 5% of people capable of entrepreneurship is not so small, it is about 1 in 20. The third myth. For business, the main thing is a good idea. This is a complete lie. Many of us have original ideas. But which of us has his own business? One business idea is not enough, it still needs to be put into practice, and then sold. After all, without sales there is no profit, business development and moving forward. The fourth myth. Every entrepreneur is very rich. The imagination of the layman draws a standard image of an entrepreneur. An expensive foreign car, a luxury apartment, a luxurious mistress. As easy as it is to believe, 99% of entrepreneurs do not fit into this image. To live so smartly, you need to spend a lot and quickly, and a self-respecting businessman calculates every penny and does not waste money. The fifth myth. The entrepreneur plows like Carl's dad, without having a moment of rest. This is also absolutely wrong. Entrepreneurs are also people and also need rest. Another thing is that many of them love their work so much that work has turned into a kind of hobby, without which they cannot imagine a single day. There are many other, no less funny myths about business, but only those who have started doing business themselves can understand them.
Dear listeners, write down what other books you would like to listen to in audio format. Thank you for your likes and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We wish you all the best.